So I've been a voice actor now professionally for about 8 years, and there's a lot that's happened that I was not expecting. Hello, all my Hello Maniacs out there. Welcome back to the channel. It's so great to see you again. And yeah, being a voice actor has taught me a lot about this industry. And some of the stuff I kind of thought I would deal with, but some stuff I had no idea about. So that's what this video is, just a bunch of things that I've experienced as a voice actor that I never thought I would have to experience. I'm grateful to say that I don't think I've ever truly had a bad voice acting job, or I experienced anything that was purely awful or terrible in a recording session. There's just some stuff that was weird, or I didn't quite know how voice acting worked, so I wasn't expecting to deal with this. So the first thing I want to talk about is the dreaded silence. The silence that you get moments after you record a string of lines. Oh, every voice actor knows what I'm talking about. So if you guys don't know how voice acting works, let me set it up for you. So in a recording booth, that title is very misleading. You're not really in a recording booth. So how it typically works is you are in a room alone in this big padded room with a microphone right in front of you. And then there is a second room, which is where the recording technician is going to be, the director, producers, anybody who's not actually recording their voice is going to be in that room. And these rooms are typically connected by a window. So you can see them, they can see you, but because of the soundproofing of the room, you can't hear them. So you have to have headphones on at all times. And then in the recording booth, they have a button that they click, and if they want to talk to you, they'll click the button, they'll say whatever they need to say, and then they release it. And then once they release the button, you can't hear a word they're saying. So from my perspective, this is what I hear. Alright, Brian, so we're gonna take this from the top, start at line 1, and we want 3 different takes of it, okay? And go. Okay, sounds good. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this! Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this! You can see them talking. It's like the director turning around, it's like, oh, blah, 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 and they're talking with their producers and all this stuff, and you just have no idea what they're saying. You just see them jabbering on like monkeys at the zoo, and you're just sitting there at the microphone going, please tell me that was good. Please tell me that was good. And that's when the mind kicks in and it starts playing games with you like, oh no, that was terrible. What if I did this wrong? What if they're gonna kick me off the project? What if they don't like this? What if it's a terrible mistake? What if this was all for naught? That was good. Let's move on to the next line. Now, granted, that has kind of changed a lot post-pandemic. A lot of the recording sessions that I do now, I am either doing this online and can hear everything they're saying, or in regards to working on Hotel Transylvania, we did that completely during the pandemic. Now I will say this, post-pandemic, I don't deal with this as much. I do still encounter it, but for the most part, either they're recorded at home and you can hear everything that they're saying, or a lot of times people are Skyping in, or Google chatting in, or Zooming in, and you can hear everything they're saying in your cans at all times. Cans is another word for headphones. So you can hear what they're saying the entire time. And let me tell you something, after about 5 or 6 years of not knowing what they were saying during that moment, it was so gratifying to hear what they were saying. But it was also far more mundane than I was expecting. I was expecting some crazy stuff, but in reality it was just stuff like, I like take 3. Did you like take 3? Yeah, I like take 3. Actually, I like take 1, but I like take 3 as well. Okay, so what if we did like a hodgepodge, take part of take 1 and part of take 3? Oh, that'll work. Okay, good. All right, Brian, that was good. I'm sure the directors aren't thinking this, or the producers aren't thinking this, but in the voice actor's head, we're freaking out every time we don't hear something after we record. Second thing is the fishbowl effect. The fact that you kind of feel like you're an exhibit at a zoo, or like you're a fish in an aquarium because of how the rooms are set up. I mentioned that earlier, that there's like this glass that separates you from them, and you kind of start to feel like what animals you expect them to think about at the zoo, because you see the people over there. You can't really understand what they're saying, and they're just like ever so often pointing at you or like gesturing and doing all this stuff, and you're like, I have no idea what you're saying. And you are just so cut off from them that you kind of feel like you're put on display. I mean, the recording booth is fun and everything, but you kind of always feel like every eye is on you, which it totally is, and especially in animation, a lot of times there's a camera pointed on you as well, because they want to film what your mannerisms are for the animators in case you do something really cool that they want to incorporate into the character animation. And this brings up another one that never really messed with me because I knew this how this worked, but I've heard this from other voice actors, and I've heard this just from people who always ask me how voice acting works. I hate to break it to y'all, but Mrs. Doubtfire lied. Yay! Because yes, the voice acting comes first. I have to explain this to a lot of people. Unless you're dubbing. Dubbing is a totally different thing. If you're dubbing something in another language, yeah, then that's all you see. In most cases, it's gonna be the vocal performance first, and then it goes to the animators to, excuse me, I'm working here, email notifications! Now granted, I do get to see something called animatics. If you've ever heard of a storyboard, it's kind of like that, but in movie form. So with a storyboard, you basically see the movie as a really big comic book. And that's how people pitch sequences of the show. You don't get a traditional script. It's you come up with an idea with visuals, you present it to the rest of the story team, and y'all decide together what's the best track forward, what's the best jokes, what's the best way to tell this thing. Then after that all gets approved, it then gets turned into like a giant moving slideshow that they put temporary voices on just to kind of get a feel for how long the story will be. Does everything flow? Does this joke work? All that jazz. Then we're brought in, so I get to watch the animatic with the temporary voice and the living comic book. I get to see that, so I at least get an idea of what's happening in the shot. I know what characters I'm interacting with. And sometimes the voices are actually done. While I was working on Hotel Transylvania, every so often I would get a scene where the other actors were able to come in and record their stuff before I did, so I knew how they were going to deliver their lines so I could act off that. That part was nice, but that doesn't happen all the time, so don't bank on that. Also, another thing a lot of people learned, I knew this going in, but a lot of voice actors told me they didn't, so I'll include it, is you're doing this alone. You don't get to have all the other actors at your disposal. You're in a room by yourself with the directors and producers in another room. Even every so often I see two people in the same room doing it. That is not normal. It happens, but it's not normal. One of the things I also never thought I would be experiencing through voiceover is the imposter syndrome. I thought for sure that when I got to a certain level of voiceover work that I would lose this imposter syndrome that I had. Before YouTube, I had so many people tell me I needed to be a voice actor, I needed to go out there and do this, and I kept telling myself, no, I'm not really a voice actor. I just do impressions, these are just fun. That's not the same thing as being a voice actor. Just doing an impression is not equivalent to being a voice actor. Say that with me, everybody. Just doing impressions is not equivalent to being a voice actor. They're not the same thing. But yeah, I was always convinced I'm not a real voice actor, and I thought that all the way up through my entire voice acting career, and just thought everything I got was kind of a fluke. Even Hotel Transylvania. I remember walking in, probably my first or second day on the job, walking into the studio and thinking today is gonna be the day that they're gonna look at my IMDb and say, nope, we hired the wrong guy, we're gonna get somebody else. Thank you for your time, Brian, but go home. We're gonna get somebody else to be Dracula, and that'll be it. And no, that didn't happen. In fact, there was one time that really, really meant a lot to me. We were recording the opening song to Hotel Transylvania 4, and I had to sing the song as Dracula, and I had to sing it like Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler is not a trained singer. I am. So there's a lot of stuff that he would do instinctually, because he's not a singer, that he would do that was very much in character for Dracula, but it wasn't necessarily good singing. And because I'm a trained singer, I often lean towards singing better than singing in character. I try to do more the character side, but you know, sometimes that slips in because I've had 10 years of training in it. Give me a break, it happens. So we were going through the song over and over and over and over, and I was feeling extremely just you know, inferior, like I didn't deserve to be here, I didn't deserve to be an actor, I'm ruining the movie, all this stuff. And then our producer, at the end of the session, our producer piped up and she said, Brian, I just want to say we're loving everything you're giving us, honey. Thank you for being amazing. And I almost cried. I'm just like, thank you, I needed to hear that. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are sitting there going, no, I'm the one with the imposter syndrome. Why should you have it? Everybody deals with it to some degree, I'm convinced. And, you know, even the biggest guys out there have probably dealt with it to some degree. And that's kind of what I'm starting to learn is, you know, you're never going to feel like you made it, whatever that actually means, because nobody actually knows what that feels like. Or at least they don't know what it feels like in the early days, so they don't really know what it's going to feel like whenever they do make it. I know for me, I never really felt that I made it. I'm just excited for these new opportunities, and maybe that is what it feels like to make it. So in that case, maybe I did. I don't know, this last part kind of got a little existential. Stop emails! I'm trying to have a moment here! Okay, I turned off the sound now, so I shouldn't hear any email notifications when we're close to finishing the video, so that was kind of pointless, but you know, whatever. So one of the things that I've also dealt with as a voice actor is everyone kind of knows each other, but they don't always get the chance to like sit down and talk and hang out with one another. Like a lot of studios and stuff will like host events and be able to have ways for people to come over and talk and be able to get to know each other a little bit more. But like you can do a movie with somebody and you never see their face. Like in Tangled the series, I technically played Rapunzel. Like my character was the way everyone saw and heard her. So she had to record lines for me so that I could then imitate how she would say it, but in another character's voice. I know that's confusing, but if you watch the episode, it makes a little bit more sense. So all the lines that I said stuff as Rapunzel, Mandy Moore actually recorded those lines for me. I heard her in my cans, and then I had to replicate what she did in Teenage Stabbington Brothers' voice. So yeah, that's what I did. But I've never met her, or even Adam Sandler. I don't even know if he knows I exist. I assume he knows by the fact he probably looked at the credits and was like, who's the dude who played me? I don't know if he liked it or not. I hope he did, but I don't know. And one other thing I didn't expect with voice acting was when I go into the studio, I always expected this to be a huge deal. Like everyone would be like super obsessive about getting like every little nook and cranny, every little thing right. And most people are actually pretty chill in the recording booth. I don't know, I guess I got it in my head because I saw so many movies that were like showing what it was like for a live action film, and usually the director's like all anxious and like, oh, we gotta get this scene done in like 5 hours, so we gotta run, we gotta go. And it's like you just see so many egos and you just experience so much tension while you're filming. At least that was at least the assumption that I always got from films and TV, and who knows, maybe they did that on purpose just for storytelling purposes, and that's not actually how it is. Yeah, the more I say that, the more that's probably what it is. And it's really interesting. I always saw this world, voice acting, animation, Disney cartoons, animated films, all of this stuff as like so good of content that I could never come close to touching that. And yet, I've been able to be a part of some of it. And it just shows me, oh, you know, the people who make this are just a bunch of movie nerds like me. They're all just a bunch of people who want to make something cool together. It kind of reminds me of like when my friends would get together in middle school or high school and we try to just make a fun video together. It's kind of like that, except we're all getting paid for it. So there's a little bit more of a urgency there. So I guess that's really it. These are just some things that I never thought I would be experiencing in voiceover, but I am. Some of it's been great. Some of it, but you know, the imposter syndrome's not fun, but you get better with it and you learn to grow from it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!